said that, I'm going to open the meeting at 6:08. And we'll do a roll call. Representative Bailey, Representative Brennan, Representative Surf is connecting to audio. Okay, but we know she's here. I can see her. Representative Kopp.
Here.
Hope you're on mute. Then. Representative Frickman, Representative. Representative Semeraro.
Here.
That's our issue. Is it says 7 here on my thing, but I know that we have Representative Keegan with us.
So we do need Jen.
We do need Jen. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute, Jen.
How about now?
Good.
Okay,
All right. So we do need you for the quorum.
okay.
So sorry.
I'll be right back. I'm just gonna get my book.
Sounds good. All right, so we'll start with the fire district account center 1092. And do we have a representative with us for the, or is that just you, John?
Well, I'll start it off and then, yeah, particular questions.
Okay.
Page, do we have a page?
182 and
182.
183 is where the numbers are. 2 is the data. I mean, the paragraph.
Yeah, the narrative. Rich, if you look at your agenda, it'll always have the page right there next to the account. So I think you got the agenda right there on the other side of you.
Okay.
So 1092, it looks like there was an increase on this council item. And John, is the procedure typically to just move the first number, the council number, or the
Yeah.
manager number?
Usually the council number.
Okay. So the council number is 436,383. Can I have a committee member please move that number?
I moved.
Sure.
436,383.
Thank you. And do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Rich. All right, so
I'm sorry, I didn't hear when you said what account it was. What is it again?
1092, the fire district's pilot, the payment in lieu of taxes.
Okay,
It's page 183, Jen.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Mr. Burt, would you like to speak on this account?
Sure. I was looking for my niece to the microphone. Sorry, I'm in the usual spot. You'll see the up until this year, the amount has been static for years towards the fire districts. What this is basically making up for untaxable land, for state, town, etc. The town gets an amount from the state for untaxable land. Now it's generally for ours for untaxable land. However, years ago, we started making up for some of the lost taxes for the fire districts.
Mhm.
It's been static for many years before I got here. So it was at 246 total for many years. There's been talk over the years of adjusting that upward. Our state revenue has gone up over the years. Just to give you an idea of how much we get in, let's see, last year we received a little over 1.7 million for pilot dollars from the state. This year we had a surprise that it was about 2.5. So it was higher than we budgeted, which is nice. And then the governor's budget for the upcoming year for what we're talking about here is back to about 1.5, which is still though healthy compared to what we used to get years ago. And the town council is planning on taking this up again. There's some that want to get this up even further. This is a step towards getting them, towards where they should be. I bumped it up to 405, initially 173. And I increased 100,000 for Quantic Ridge Fire. That's as a step. I thought, well, that's what they pay for rental for fire hydrants. And then I prorated equal amounts to the other fire districts. So they all went up an equal percentage. Then the council, due to the high, and I'll touch base on that in a second, Quantic Bridge has a high amount of untaxable land. So they want to do a little more. So that's what that amendment was for, was just for Quantic Ridge Fire. And just you kind of see what some of the coverage, for instance, Peconic Ridge Fire covers over 43% of the town. So, and they have a lot of our commercial areas, the harder to cover areas. The second biggest is Old Mystic at 16.46%. So it's a big gap there. City of Groton just, is 15.11% of the town. On top of that, just, what kind of taxable property percentage they have. This is a couple years old, but Peconic Bridge, only 45.23% of their property is taxable. So over half their property is not taxable. The only one that has 100% taxable is Groton at 1 point, but then it goes from there. Town of Groton as a whole, those 65% taxable property. So again, trying to get a little more equitable with the fire districts, trying to take a step towards it. It's hard to jump it up all at once, so it's
Sure.
a step.
And you agree with this number?
Yes, yeah, well, definitely.
So,
Do any committee members have questions?
yes, I have a question. So basically, you're taking what the state gives us in pilot money as a town and redistributing some of it to the fire district, right?
Exactly.
So, part of that money is actually income that comes to us from the state, right?
Correct. Yes, pilot dollars.
It's actually not an expenditure on our part.
Right, it's just revenue, correct. Other than we've always done 246 for many years, 246,000.
Yeah. No, I definitely think Peconic Bridge deserves more. And I like the way you've added to it. All right, that was my only question.
Thank you, Jen. Any other committee members? I do have a question. So this is kind of a more general question about pilot from the state. About what percentage of Groton is untaxable?
What I just, about 35% as a whole,
As a whole, 35%? And what is the amount?
as of a couple of years ago, could have changed a little bit. For instance, Wolfbrook, would have changed it a little bit, so.
Sure. So of that 35% in dollars, about how much are we getting back from the state? Because I know we don't get 100% of our pilot.
I don't know what the actual, we do not get 100% back, yeah,
Yep.
no. And I'm sorry, I don't know what the percentage is, other than the raw number. We're planning on 1.5 for this upcoming year,
Okay.
1.5 million.
And then kind of the same question for the fire districts. Of the untaxable property, what does that mean in dollars to those districts? Do you have kind of an idea?
I was going with that before.
And
I have-
again, what would this look like in percentage of what we're covering? Is it 100% of what they're losing out on taxes? Is it 75, 50%?
Hold on 1 second. Chief Driscoll might know more off the top of. Tim, do you know off the top of your?
Sure. Would you like to join us at the table so we can catch you on the speaker?
Sure.
Thank you.
Doesn't it depend also whether there's a building on the property or not? It's not just land. For instance,
Correct.
Spicer House. The Spicer
correct.
House is in Noank, right?
So for the question that you asked, and I can only answer on behalf of Peconic Ridge Fire District.
Mhm.
Town of Groton for assessment. And that is just for the land and for the building, not personal property, just land and building. Their fire district tax would be $611,334. The state of Connecticut would be $979,950 for a total of $1,591,284 is fire district tax coming in. Our budget, our operating budget, about 5.5 million. So it's a substantial. State of Connecticut, town of Groton are the two highest taxpayers for the Peconic Ridge Fire District, and we can't collect a penny of taxes. City of Groton is number 7, but again, that's land and building, not the personal property. If I put the personal property in, there'll be City of Groton, it would be State of Connecticut, town of Groton, City of Groton, would be my top 3, and I can't collect a penny of taxes from them.
So you're saying you're losing $1.5 million in taxes every year?
Yes.
Okay, and we are giving 100.
And remember, this also makes up for our lost revenue too from the state, so.
Sure.
Yeah, so we're planning on receiving about 1.5 million. And then total, looking at what did I forget what the new, I don't have the new number right in front of me. For 36,383, but for Putnam Bridge District, it was 254, so add that extra bit of money on
30,
onto it,
31.
Yeah.
So it's 281.
right?
All right, so that puts you at roughly a little more than a third makeup. And the goal is, well, overall is, are we going to try to get them up to 50%?
There's not a set amount yet, and part of it depends on how much we get also. The town's public safety committee is going to be taking this up actually in a couple of weeks. To start, I think just, we've looked at this many times over the years, so it's going to be a bit of a discussion for a while. I think eventually they'll set a goal probably for us.
Mhm.
I hope in 2-3 months we'll have a goal.
Okay. Those are the only questions I have. Any other questions from the committee? Are there any RTM members in the attendance audience that might want to ask a question that can be recognized? I know we have some members sitting over there. You want to raise your hand? We can recognize you. Nope. All right. Do we feel ready to vote, or is there another number folks want? Nope. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? Jen, was that opposed or in favor?
excuse me?
Was that
Did you
in
ask-
favor?
Yes, I raised my hand in favor.
So I didn't hear any opposing, any abstaining. All right, that passes unanimously. All right, thank you, Chief Driscoll, for joining us. All right, so we're going to move on to account 1001 legislative policy. That's page 53 in the books. The narrative is on 53, the numbers are on the opposite page. Let me see here. Legislative policy. So legislative policy, that's mostly like the town council. kind of-
Yeah, that is the town council, and almost all of it is our CCM membership.
Mhm.
CCM is our lobbyist.
Can we wait until?
Oh, sorry.
Move a number, sorry. Just one, that was more kind of a,
Sure.
that's what we're talking about is town council kind of generals. Can I have a member please move number 42,650?
Move $42,650.
Thank you, Representative Kaden. A second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Representative Marrero. All right, Mr. Burt, would you like to talk to your account?
Sure, be happy to. Yes, this is the town council's main budget for that body. Most of it, over 33,000, is just for their CCM membership. The CCM acts as our lobbyist at the state for legislation. Every town in Connecticut is a member. It's not required, but they all are. So they're a lobbyist. They do regular research into salaries. So they do a salary study every year. Reach out to the different towns, compile that. If you have an issue, want researched, for instance, whatever it is, whatever question it affects the town, how many towns have their own fire service, then you could ask them, they would reach out to all the members and compile that information. So it's very useful to have them. And then free trainings, they give a ton of free trainings. All kinds of topics.
Thank you.
Um,
Do any members have questions?
Yes,
Yes,
I do. You go to those meetings, obviously, right, John?
The trainings or which thing?
How do we find out what they're doing for us from year to year?
Well, first of all, they send out regular updates, especially when there's legislation that pending that could affect the towns. They constantly put up briefs to us of what's going on with it, who we should contact if we're in favor, if we're opposed, et cetera. But they also, members on their board, which are representatives from different municipalities, help set their legislative agenda for the year. What are the big issues we want to tackle? One of them is typically we want full pilot dollars and we want full reimbursement for any of those type of things where we get cut traditionally. So they contact us pretty much constantly, almost daily. We get something from them.
Oh, I see. So if we, do they put it up on their website if we wanted to look now and then? Because I remember seeing a couple and they were very enlightening. So I was wondering how those of how we could get access to it.
Yeah, they put quite a bit, like, I think their legislative stuff, you can just go to their website.
Just go to the
Go
website.
to it. Yeah, let me, like,
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
and just so you know, it's www.ccm-ct.org.
Okay,
And if you have a question, just reach out to me.
okay.
any other questions from committee members? So from the council discussions, the beautification committee, they get 9 grand. Remind me, how much should they,
It's 4,000.
or it's 4,000?
Yeah, they've had some other grant dollar or some other fund dollars over time, but it's 4,000, which is what they had asked for, what they have in the current budget this year.
Right, and how much did they get from that ARPA fund?
It was close to 10,000. You know, it's for murals specifically. It was somewhere in the 10,000 mark. It might have.
And just off the top of your head, do any other committees or commissions get funds this way, like a line item in the budget?
Not traditionally, however, the council wants it placed somewhere, because we sometimes start it this way if we're not sure if it's gonna be a permanent thing. For instance, if you recall, we used to have the Thames River Heritage, the taxi service under this budget.
Okay.
Which was 5,000, I believe.
Right.
We eventually, because that was in there every year, eventually council said, we're gonna be funding this for a while, put it into, somewhere else. So
Yeah.
and I anticipate, they brought that up this year, so I'd anticipate this will be the last year with it under here.
Okay,
I have a question. How come there's nothing for the Jabez Smith house anymore?
Well, it's not being used right now. Their board still meets, and it's something that sorry.
no, I was gonna say, just, is that Parks and Recs? Kind of?
No, it's not under Parks and Rec.
I
It's always
believe
been
it-
under the,
If you turn the page, it's on this account. It's on page 54.
there used to be a caretaker that stayed there so they could open for the public.
Mhm.
Irish rules don't allow that unless, if you want to have a caretaker, you have to charge them rent, you have to figure out what they'd be worth, how much they should be paid, you have to deduct that rent, it's pretty cumbersome. And so we're still wrestling with, especially what I'd like to see is as we, let's become more and more of a town center, as we do more with Claude Chester's, we do more, I would like to see it actually under Parks and Rec eventually, since it's not far from where all these other activities are gonna be. And especially as I'm hopeful someday we'll move the administration of Parks and Rec to the community center building too. So I'm hopeful of a really good core government area. So it comes up now and then. It's just trying to figure out what to do with it.
I have a follow-up question. Does that mean you're not doing any maintenance at all on this house?
That's out of the public works budget. It's not specified individually. Yes, we mow it. Well, I should say, I think Parks and Rec does mow it. I believe they're the ones that mow it. I could be wrong in that, but our public works does maintain the building. We keep it. That's part of, I believe, the deed restrictions. You have to keep it in decent repair. So yes, it's actually a very good repair.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
And we used to have, I should mention one more thing. We used to do the fuel out of here for the fuel oil for there. We ended up just moving that into the public works a couple of years back. So it is heated and maintained and electricity there and all that. So
Great.
Okay, thank you. Any other committee members have questions? Yes.
Yeah, I've had
Representative
my
Brown.
hand up
Sorry.
for a little bit. That's okay, no worries. I just want you, so this 10017 initiatives, that's the beautification budget, did you say? Is that what you were referring to, Lauren?
yes, that
I mean,
is.
Chair Gothier, sorry. Okay, what an odd location for it.
Yeah.
All right, that's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean,
And I'm making a note to change it for next year.
so well, the thing is, like,
Yeah, it's.
we want to
it's,
swap over 4 grand, but then we have these agencies before us that are doing very, very urgent
Right.
work in our community. Daffodils and vinyl fences, so.
Right.
But I'm not gonna squabble over
No.
4 grand. Not in this case, at least. So, any other comments? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that passes unanimously. Our next account is 1006, legal services, page 63. And if we have a member move the amount of 385,000.
Oh, this is legal services?
Would you like to
I
move the number,
move-
Jen?
I-
Or Joe?
Legal services, 1006?
Yes.
Okay.
Representative Cobb, would you like to move a number?
Certainly, I move $385,000.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second,
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Mr. Burt, would you like to speak to the account?
Sure. Yeah, all our legal expenses come out of this. Every year it could be a little different. Typically, we budget for about 300,000 a year. That's about what we do.
Mhm.
However, it was probably already under budget for this current year. You're gonna see a fourth quarter transfer coming to the RTM with over 190,000 for legal. A lot of that is reval.
Mhm.
Reval was hugely costly for legal time and then so reval was a big one in all but one of our union contracts was this year, and that took up a lot of the funding. So those were the big two. And then as well as we usually only spend about 5,000 on FOIA things. We've spent about 40,000 plus so far for that. You know, just got another one last week, and every time you get one, if it's a complaint going to the FOIA commission, you can count on it being probably around $5,000.
I mean, do you have anything else to add?
No. So I'm trying to find a reasonable balance, you know, because reval's done every year. So trying to find where it should be.
Any questions from committee members?
Yes, I
Jen.
have a question. I recall that I don't think I asked to see the legal fees itemized, although I think I might have. And I know Roseanne Katowski definitely asked one time, and
Question, please.
she had told me, well, the thing is when it's itemized, a ton of stuff is put under miscellaneous. And I'm asking the question, is it possible to break it down so that we can actually see where all the legal services went specifically, not just hidden under miscellaneous?
Not really. Pretty much the stuff requested by the council or RTM comes under that. We're talking every packet we get every month from those 100 to 200, even 300 pages. So yeah, there's no way. I've got a spreadsheet where I do my categories. It's actually broken out by categories broadly. Let me get that somewhere.
Maybe that's something you can get to Representative Surf offline.
Sure, can do that.
Is that all right? Representative
Yes.
Surf, he can get that to you offline?
Oh, can we get that spreadsheet?
Well, as mentioned, though, it won't break down the miscellaneous. That's literally thousands of pages. They would take months to do. It has lots of, it's broken down by tax division work, assessment work, FOIA commission, miscellaneous. I think land use has its own category. I think Parks and Rec sometimes and Public Works sometimes. So there's some broad categories.
What types of things go into miscellaneous?
Usually, for the most part, it's any question the council may have or I may have that we have them working on. If you had something like we did, like for one thing, one year we did a ton of research into coastal access rights. You know, for about 2 years we spent on that, and that would be miscellaneous because it was a council initiative to look at that. So, you know, that was probably 50 or more thousand probably doing that. So,
Do you know approximately how much you spent on the Mystic Oral School?
no, I don't know. And it's been a while since we've spent anything on it.
Well, that's good news.
Now, you know, and actually we didn't spend as much as people would have thought because we, you know, for market, we had about 50,000 from the state up front for marketing and other things. I can't imagine we spent that much afterwards. I probably half that, if even that. And we haven't had any issues to go to the council or to the attorneys in a long time since we canceled the agreement.
Okay. Thank you.
I will send you what I have, Representative Surf.
Any other committee members have questions? I have a question. How long have we been using Blum Shapiro, is it?
Sussman Shapiro.
Sussman Schmier.
Yeah, 30-something years.
There's something.
Yeah, there's not many in the region that do it. You know, we went up to bid last year.
You went out to bid, so formal solicitation.
Yeah, we went through a full formal bid process, yeah.
And how many respondents did you get to that?
3 or 4, and none of them met all the criteria outside of them.
Yeah.
So, and we have a hell of, yes, actually, sorry. A heck of a deal. We can really pay about 140 or so an hour. Most others that they keep it low for us. And that is typical for municipal contract. They lower below their current usual rate. But most towns are paying more like 250 to 300 an hour. So if we change vendors out, and plus they have all opinions, all files and everything. My guess is if we actually switched, we'd double our budget to even maybe more. So.
All right, any other questions?
Yes, I have one more question. I noticed in the committee that you set up to choose the lawyers, there was no lawyer on the committee on our side. There was nobody with legal experience. And I would like to suggest that the next time around, it would be much more convincing if you did get somebody with legal experience, you know.
Thank
On
you,
our side.
Representative Sir. We're here for the
Yeah.
budget.
I will keep
Send that
that,
in an email.
I will keep that in mind though.
All right, we're gonna take a vote now. There's no other comments or questions on the budget? Nope. All right, the number is somewhere,
385.
385. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we're moving on to our next account, which is 1010 Executive Management on page 66. And there was a change to this account. It went up about 30 grand.
Correct.
Sorry. So it went up about 30 grand. The town council's number is 348,876. Now,
Okay.
this is a departmental, so unlike those CIPs, we can lower it, I believe. But the number that needs to be moved right now is 348,876. Can I get a movement from a member?
Yeah, I'll move the number 348,076.
In a second, please.
Second.
Second,
Thank you. All right, Mr. Burt, would you like to speak to this?
Sure. This is the town manager budget. When I first arrived, just to explain the 30,000, it's for a part-time position that was added recently. It has to be reflected in the budget now. And yeah. When I first arrived, there was 2 people in my office. When one left within a year, if we didn't fill that position, we did though change the HR position to 10% of their time towards assistant town manager. He left and it's just the workload is very large without that other person. So what we're looking to do is a part-time person to take on minutes and some other things so that Lisa in my office can take on some kind of mid-level duties to free up some of my time. As it is, there's things I haven't been able to do or dig into.
Any questions from committee members?
Yes, can
Yes,
you remind me what the allowances are on page 68?
Category allowances?
There's a, let's see, number 5117. And this is all part of the town manager's budget. There's 5117, there's allowances in the amount of $11,000.
I'm not seeing that
It-
number on page
it-
50, 67.
68.
68.
It's other benefits in my contract. So
Oh, got it.
Excuse me, it's in your contract?
other benefits that are, yeah, it's in my contract.
I see. Okay. And you say, and then you said there's no salary adjustment, but when I look on page 69, it looks to me like your salary goes up. Not that I don't think you don't deserve it, but your salary
didn't
goes up.
I didn't say there wasn't a salary increase.
Salary, well, on page 68, it says that certainly for 23 and 24, there are no salary adjustments.
What is that?
5109.
On page 68,
168. The second line.
Yeah, that means something else, though. That's not the regular salary increases. I forget what that. It's something that happens if you need money mid-year. It's like an adjustment here. It doesn't get budgeted up front. It gets put in if you have to make an adjustment mid-year.
okay. All right, that's all I have.
Any other committee members? Nope, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Representative Sir, can you clarify if that's in favor or opposed?
I'm in
In
favor.
favor? Great,
I'm in favor, yes.
that moves unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Burt, for your time.
Sure. I've got another 10 minutes or so. I'll hang out before I go to the next meeting. That'll start for 20 minutes.
We feel so honored. Thank you. So we're gonna move on to the accounts under 1083. These are the health, these aren't the health agencies. Which ones are these? These are
Regional agencies.
Yeah.
regional
regional.
agencies, right? Oh, so these are your seats and your sectors. Correct?
Yes,
Seat,
Yeah.
seat sector, CCOG,
and probate,
and probate, which we
right?
have to
And,
pay.
and 2 of the 4 are legally required to stay at the amount they tell us. Um,
Once this checks and balances that judicial can tell us how much the legislative needs to shell out.
yeah. Actually, I take that back. It's legislate another one. There's only one of this one that's required. First one is the COG, Council of Governments. They have 22 member. There's a COG covering each area of the state. There's 22 municipalities and the one this town is in, they're all members. You don't have to be a member, but they all are members within that
Can
district.
we move a number
Oh,
before we
I'm
start
sorry.
discussion?
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. So we move this as a block number, and then we'll talk about the individual centers, if we feel that's necessary. The block number is 151,520. Can I please have a member for that number?
I'll move
I move
100.
151,520,000.
All right, second.
Second.
Right. So, Mr. Burt, would you like to talk to this account?
Sure.
Anything in particular? Amy?
Sure, and let me just double check that. I see, I know sector and I believe seat have representatives online. Let me just make sure there's not one for
Sure.
the government. I have trouble seeing from here. I don't see anybody.
See them?
So, council government, as I mentioned, there's 22 member municipalities, including us. I'm a representative, from the town that goes monthly to their meetings. The biggest thing, they, of course, they give a lot of guidance on their active many things, solid waste, planning, land use, sort of. But their core issue, the core thing is if you want transportation grant dollars, it goes through them. So you have to be a member. So if we want to receive as much funding, then we need to stay a member. They're a great organization. And for instance, they just helped us get that TAP grant that's going to finance tonight.
All right. Any questions from committee members? And the way I'd like to structure this, guys, instead of going account by account, let's stick just to asking your questions. And I think it's safe to say most of these will move because they have to.
Right, that's
But-
what I was gonna say. They're not optional dollars.
They're not really optional. So yeah, we're not going to go in any particular order on these agencies. Representative Sir?
Yes, I just realized, what is the difference between the SCCOG, the Council of Government, and the CCM?
Council of Government's more of a transportation of, basically, councils of governments, because when there's not county government, they kind of take that place to distribute transportation dollars and whatever services they generally think are needed within that region. But the core of it is transportation dollars. Those transportation funds from the federal government and state flow through them, or much of it does. Whereas Whereas CCM is our lobbyist, they give trainings, that type of, they don't actually provide grants or apply
Yeah.
for things.
They're the lobbyists. Okay, I get it. Thank you.
Any other questions from committee members?
Well, just one quick one. I'm surprised that we're not trying to get seat to do more in town. You know, like, do they run a bus, you know, to Mystic or from Groton, or is there a way we can release? I mean, has anybody talked about having them do more bus routes or
Yeah,
to
and-
reduce traffic?
Well, I can say we got Mike Carroll on Zoom, the director of SEAT, and he is working on one grant possibility for the town, which though would require a match if it came to fruition. But Mike, can you speak to her question?
Okay,
Sure, I'd be glad to try to do that. We do have service between Groton and Mystic, the 108 line, which originates in New London, goes through Groton and then continues on to Mystic and then continues to Foxwoods. That service is Monday through Saturday. And then as the manager mentioned, we are in the process of applying for a state grant to provide micro transit service, if you will, which essentially is shared ride on demand service in the eastern portion of Groton, extending over in the Mystic, basically Noank Mystic area, if you will. That is a competitive RFP that the Department of Transportation has released. We will be submitting a proposal along with some other service enhancements. So I can't guarantee that that will be funded. It's a 2-year pilot with 100% state funding, so there would be no local match for that service if it's successful. In addition to that, the governor's budget, and I understand the preliminary budget in the General Assembly included a additional tranche of state funding to expand services, which would include services in Groton as well. So our fingers are crossed, we're going to be able to expand what we currently do. But the main thing to remember is SEAT is heavily, like all transit districts in the state, is heavily dependent upon state funding to the tune of about 70 to 75% of our operating funds come from the state, 20% of our capital funds, 80% of our capital funds from the federal government. We have been relying in the last couple of years during COVID on some one-time federal money, CARES, ARP, et cetera. We did get an additional tranche of one-time money for FY24, which we've tried to use to help soften the blow, if you will, and the impacts of COVID on our customers and on our communities.
okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Carroll? Thank you for your time, Mr. Carroll.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions from committee members? Any from RTM members in the audience? I don't see any hands. Could you flip over to the attendees so I can see hands if possible? No, okay, they rise to the top. Okay, all right, I'll entertain a vote. All those in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Great, that moves unanimously. Thank you to all of the representatives from those agencies that gave some time today. Appreciate you coming out, speak to your budgets, even though we didn't get a chance to speak to you directly. All right. So we're going to move now to accounts 1084. These are the health service agencies. So that's Ledgelight, the VNA, Groton Ambulance, service agencies, Marine Sewage Disposal, Mystic River Ambulance, Mystic Noank Library, and Bill Memorial. If any folks from the audience are representing those agencies, you can come join us at the table now. And then if there's anyone in the attendees list, please move them over, Mr. Burt.
What page are we on?
So these will start at 173. Let me take a look here. There was no There were no cuts made to any of these accounts, correct, Mr. Burt?
Correct.
No movement in between accounts?
No.
Status quo. And with these, do we have to move them individually or is it again a block?
You can do it how you want. Council tends to take one line at a time there, but it's up to the committee.
How does the committee feel? Do you want to do it as a block or would you like to?
I would
do it-
like to do it as a block.
Would you like to do it individually? I hear one for a block,
I'll second a block.
second a block. Jen, Jackie,
I'm cool with the block.
cool with a
Well,
block.
Unless we find one that we want to try to lower, but otherwise we can do it as a block. I don't know. I haven't.
Here's what I'll say, because you guys all came out and I love all of your agencies individually. I really do mean that. But I also love your time. I love our time. Here's what I'll say is if any committee member has a particular budget item they want to hear more about or speak to, we'll talk about that one. Otherwise, we're gonna move as a block. I will say we have communications on a few of these that I'll read out into the record now, because I'm not sure if they were included in like the agenda or I don't know how, John, you guys do that. So I have one from Mr. Gilman.
Yep.
Right there. So Mr. Gilman, we had a question from Representative Chase, I believe, about the split between Groton and Stonington service calls. Mr. Gilman wrote, last fiscal year, we, being the Mystic River Ambulance Service, answered 1,452 calls in the town of Groton and 1,336 calls in the town of Stonington. As in years past, Groton, though slightly, is still over Stonington. Groton calls primarily come from private residences, while the calls for service in Stonington come primarily from the nursing homes and assisted living centers, Apple Rehab, Stone Ridge, inclusive of Avalon and the cottages at Avalon, Sava Senior Center, and Masonic. This is compared to the 3 in Groton, Mystic Healthcare and Rehab, Academy Point, and Mystic River Congregate Care, inclusive of Mystic River Homes. This year, Mystic River's ambulance is requesting $75,000 from the town of Stonington, which the Board of Finance unanimously approved during deliberations. The referendum is scheduled for May 16th. For any more questions. So that was the communication from Mr. Gilman. We also received a communication on another count, also based on questions from Representative Chase, and I did forward the responses to those from those individuals. So the first one was for account 10841 VNA School Health. She asked, why can't insurance pay for the services? And she also asked, why does the Mystic No Ink Library get so much money from town taxpayers? So let's see, we got a response.
One of my favorite arguments at these meetings. It never fails.
Right.
Question.
So from VNA, the response was, unfortunately, that regular school nursing is not a billable service to insurance. Last year, we were compared to a school-based health center. In actuality, we are quite different. We are an RN-only service. The school-based health centers are primarily run by APRN. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce who this was from. This was from Karen DeSantis. With us is a representative from the VNA Health. here.
Yes, hi. Hi,
Hi, Karen. I'm reading your answer out for the record.
great.
Sorry, I didn't recognize you up there.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
the school-based health centers are primarily run by APRNs, advanced practice RN or nurse practitioner. An APRN can diagnose and bill for services independently of a physician as they have a higher level license. Representative Chase is correct in that VNAs can bill insurance for services in home health. However, we go to patients' homes under the strict orders of a physician. These orders are time limited and for a specific diagnosis or for an acute spell of illness. For example, we could go out to a patient's home to teach them how to do tube feedings on themselves or a family member. We could evaluate the skin and make sure the patient is tolerating the tube feeding well, but insurance would not cover us to go out and do a quote tube feeding on a patient daily. There's no circumstance where a VNA nurse can bill for an as-needed service as occurs in health rooms. School-based health center can bill for a child who comes in with a complaint because the APRN is diagnosing and treating the child. So those are the communications that we received and the answers. Do we have any further questions from committee members?
Jackie,
Yes, I have my hand up again, Lauren. I received a communications from a District 7 resident named Mary Engel on 72 Main Street. She says, hello, as a resident in Groton's District 7, I'm writing today to share my support for the $160,000 budget request for the Mystic Noank Library. As I imagine you are all very familiar with this local treasure, I won't go on at length, but will sum up my support by simply stating the MNL is not only important because of the free access to literature, information, and technology, but this historic library is also a treasured source of programs that build connections and continue to strengthen the fabric of our local community today and hopefully on into the future. Thank you for considering my request and for your service.
I received the same communication as well.
I did too.
Okay, I did not. So
Well,
feeling a little slighted. No, I'm kidding.
who should I
But of
forward
course, I'm a
that?
big fan of the library.
Okay.
So let's see, all the comms, any more questions? Okay. I do have a question for Mr. Burke. Why are we using a VNA system and not using health-based, school-based health centers in all of our schools and doing like a billable insurance situation?
Well, I know they don't provide the same needed services, but I'd rather,
Which services are different?
They're
Mr.
totally
Sanders, can you
different.
speak to that? What services does your organization offer versus what we can get in a health-based school center, school-based health center?
Sure. Hi there. So we would be tracking all the health status of these students as far as vaccines, and making sure they're in compliance with the school regs. We will follow up and make sure all the physicals are done and things like that. I do not know if a school-based health center would give a tube feeding. They probably would not. So we would be the ones who are doing the tube feedings, the catheters, the daily, the med administration. A school-based health center is more for sick calls and things like that.
one-time things versus ongoing
One-time things versus
Sure.
the follow-up stuff that the school health rooms get involved with in tracking.
Sure. I mean, well, I'd assume that they'd be able to do the vaccines and the physicals because that's required by the state, and every other school
Right.
that doesn't have the health centers has to do that too.
Right.
But it sounds like we have more involved procedures. Do you have a rough number of students that are requiring those advanced procedures like the tube feedings and the catheters?
I do not have that in front of me, but I know that Groton has quite a few.
Can I clarify that a bit?
Sure.
So I believe what the VNA provides is more like a traditional school nurse, providing for all of the students in the school. If there's a medical emergency,
Right.
if there's an ongoing need, a school-based health center is analogous to community-based care. Some of them provide physician or like an APRN who would provide a physical for a student. If they needed to register, they might provide ongoing medical care, like you would see a physician outside of school in addition to mental health care. So they provide two fairly different services. If you think about the school nurse that the VNA provides is serving everyone in the school, a school-based health center might only provide services to a much smaller number of kids so parents are able to, or families are able to access care in a different way without going outside the school.
Yes, I understand that, and this probably isn't the forum to have like that kind of conversation, but understood. All right, any other questions?
Do we have a
Yes.
proposed number?
Yes, so the number that was moved, all these accounts get lumped together. We're gonna do a block number. The number that was moved was. Did we not move a number?
I don't think. we did.
I don't think we did move a number. I
Shame
moved
on
2
me.
million.
Oh.
I moved $2,400,356.
Right. So I have
Thank
one
you.
more question.
Can I get a
Okay.
second for that number?
Second,
Thank you. All right, Representative Surf, your question?
Yes. Yes, how come the amount that we're giving to the Groton ambulance has gone down by $40,000? And the amount for the Mystic River ambulance has gone up over 50%, from 45,000 to 75,000.
So
Can you-
you're asking, why has Groton gone down and why has Mystic gone up? Is that your
Right.
question?
Yes,
Right,
it is.
so could we have the representative from Groton ambulance answer that question? Why has your budget gone down?
Our budget went down due to significant cuts and elimination of a lot of programs that we've had in the past, mainly due to us losing Pequot revenue. And when we started cutting, we just kept going, and we were able to cut an additional $41,000 from our request last year. And some of the stuff that we would have requested from the town, we were able to supplement through ARPA funds that we received from the town.
And your name, just for my notes?
Chet Kinnicky.
Kinnicky, thank you. All right, Mr. Kinnicky, and then Mr. River, could you please explain why your budget went up?
So last year, when I came to the RTM, we had requested 45,000 and the town council upped it to 50,000, and subsequently the RTM cut it to 45,000. And our big project was we wanted to repave our parking lot. It's 30 years old, and the curb stops that actually hold the sidewalk are now beginning to fall over. So if you pull in the parking lot, if you're not careful, you'll actually damage your vehicle. So if anyone stops the Mystic River, so we didn't do it last year. We got quotes this year. We have $88,000. There's one for $59,000, and because the town fire departments received the grant to move all the fire departments and ambulances to the statewide system. For ambulances, Groton's already purchased them. With the grant, we can only get one mobile and two riding, well, for an ambulance, it's 2 riding positions. So in order to outfit the members with radios and pagers, it's $51,000.
Okay.
You all set,
Thanks.
Representative, sir? Okay. All right, so any other questions from committee members?
One last question. How much is Stonington gonna fork up for the Mystic Noack Library? Do you know, John?
Mystic Noack Library.
Mystic Noack. Usually it's a shared expense. We give them some money and Stonington gives them
We have
some
an
money.
answer.
Right, it's, yes, Stonington gives this year 111.
111?
Yeah, the use is 60-40 Groton, Stonington. And
Okay.
they give 111.
$111 or 111,000?
Yes, well, have to work on that.
I'm sorry, your name for the record?
Yes, Chris Bradley.
Yes. I think I did get your email. Yes, I did. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And just because I spoke, I am a full-time town of Groton employee.
Okay.
111.
All right. That's all I have.
Okay. Any other committee members? Would any of the agencies here like to speak about your organization just for the record or anything like that? Because you came out and might as well say something. Anyone? Anyone on Zoom?
Hi, everyone. This is Steve Mansfield from Ledgelight Health District.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I really don't have anything to add. I think the budget and the information that we provided to John Burt and the council and the RTM is self-explanatory, but I am here to answer any questions if anyone has them. Thank you very much.
I just have one quick question.
Yes.
Steve, to address the mold problem, are you going to be working with the people?
I'm sorry,
who are-
that's not a budget question, Representative Sir. Can you make it a budget question or can you take it offline?
Well, that's part of the money that we give them is for home inspections. And I know that it's several, I just want to know, there are several initiatives at the state level. Are they engaging you at all in working through this?
Chair Gothier, I'm happy to answer that question if it's appropriate.
Yeah, please.
Yes, we are in constant communication with people at the State Department of Public Health and our legislators regarding the proposed legislation. We are in support of any legislation that is science-based and that we can better our inspection and enforcement procedures regarding mold or any other issue.
Great. I knew you were doing your job. I just wasn't sure about the state level people. So thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak to their agency? I did see a hand from Ms. Crouch, but I think we're not at TVCCA yet, are we? That's not included in this?
Yes, it's under,
It is? Okay.
yeah.
Agencies.
Ms. Crouch, would you like to speak?
On behalf of TVCCA and the seniors in your community, we'd like to thank you for your continued support of our organization.
Oh, you
Thank
do
you.
wonderful work.
So just, I'm sorry, I thought that we were just doing the ones that were numbered separately. So the 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, 9A, and then we were going to do the human services after.
Service agencies are 10,845 under that list
10,845.
on page 174.
Sure, but the number that we moved specifically, that 2 million,
Mhm.
I don't think does that include that?
Shouldn't.
Am I
Yes,
getting-
it does. It does.
Yep. I'm happy to be wrong. All right, anyone else? Thank you so much for your time, folks. Can I get a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Abstaining? Great. Have a great evening. Yeah, safe.
Thank you.
All right, so we will. That's 2 and 1. Do you need to vote? It's been more than 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'll go to a few minutes. Meeting close to the end, so might as well finish it out.
They're having too much fun. All right, all right.
I'm sure that marks the cap crap right now. That'll take a little bit.
So we are on 1051, the human services agencies. All right, where can I find, there we go. So the number to move is $546,943.
I move $546,943.
Okay, second,
Second,
thank you. You're a great team. All right. Do we have anybody to speak on this?
Oh, let me do a promotion. Okay. I'm going to Marge Fabulous, the director. He is on.
All right, Marge, would you like to speak to this account? No, that's all right. Any questions from committee members?
Just a quick one. Why was the budget decreased? Just
There was a position held open for the last couple of years, a counseling position that we held on to it for a while to see if during COVID, the need went down. We held on to it to see if the need was going to pop back up, but needs seem to have shifted over time and they no longer see a need to have that position. They have a couple of, 2 of those same position. They're going to keep on to 1.
Great, thank you.
Any other committee members? All right, I see Marge, your mic's open now. Did you want to say something?
I apologize. I'm talking
Not a problem.
way here and I thought, oh dear. No, John described it very well. The big reduction in our budget is because we did decide that the caseload is adequate for 1 counselor, but I could not justify the second full-time counselor position. And John was gracious enough to allow me to have kept it open as a position in the last couple of budget sessions or seasons, I believe. But this time around, it was time to eliminate that 1 position. And in part, that is because of the fact that Groton has school-based health centers in every school, I believe now, and they are providing some counseling to kids in the schools that where in the past those children would have been referred, many of them would have been referred to human services, to our youth counselor. So we still get referrals. We get referrals from parents largely. And we occasionally get referrals from the schools, but not the same volume that in the past was adequate to have us maintain 2 full-time counseling positions.
One other question. Thank you very much for that. My other question is, I see it's been since 2022, I've got zero budget on crisis intervention and counseling. I'm not looking for a long, to spend too much of your time, but just to understand why there's nothing in the budget.
Those accounts or those line items were all absorbed by the 10510, the leadership general support. That was something that it was recommended by the finance director at the time, Cindy Landry, that we combine those costs into one cost center.
Okay, thank you.
And why is that?
It was just felt to be more efficient. There was no reason to break it out in another way. It was more efficient to have it just broken down into that one cost center.
Efficient in terms of like accounting or billing?
It
Or
was just unnecessary to have to track it separately.
why is it still there? Why is it carrying a zero as opposed
Because
to?
we haven't got out of we still have the 22 budget showing on here, which had numbers in it.
Gotcha.
So it hasn't fallen off yet.
Gotcha.
I think you have to also intentionally remove it. I think the finance director would have to intentionally remove it too.
Sure. Any other questions from committee members? No? All right. All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Hey, there's got to be a delay because you guys come in like just a second late. Abstaining. All right. Thank you, Marge. We have one more account, 7320. It's the Human Services Assistance Fund. And let me see, do I have this in front of me? Can I have a committee member move the number?
Move $10,000.
$10,000.
Second.
That second came from COP or SERV? I didn't look up.
It came from COP. Yep.
All righty. Marge, do you want to speak to this? You don't have to, but if you want to.
Well, just to say that this is, as was the Spicer Fund before it, it's sort of an incredibly shrinking resource in that the interest that the account earns and the donations that it might receive just don't keep up with the need for the account funds. So it's slowly disappearing. And by probably after this coming fiscal year, I think we'll have very little left in the account. So it's been great to have it, but it's not going to be with us for very much longer.
And
So we'll look at the need for it once that's depleted, just to see if there's other ways we need to fund.
what services does this fund?
At the present time, we're using it largely, in fact, I think primarily for the for rent payments to families that have children. The emphasis is families with children because that was the intent of the original bequest to the town, that the funds be used for the care of children in the community. So we're using it now for rent money for families with children.
Does that include any of those displaced by the Branford Manor issues?
Yes, we have used it. Yeah, pretty much across the board for families in the community that had a need for rent assistance.
So we had one large one that Marge, we used your ARPA dollars for the large one not long ago. Is that right?
Oh, yes. In some cases, we've had, if there's a COVID connection, then we've been using the ARPA funds that were given to the town. But this particular fund is for non-COVID related situations.
So that would include the Branford Manor folks.
Yeah, for the most part, Branford Manor related, they paid for placements during the renovations and all that. We had one issue where someone did not want to return. Their time and being paid in a hotel was up, but they had a place set up to go in a couple weeks, so we covered it for a
Using
couple
this.
weeks to get them transitioned to the new place.
And I have a process question for you, Mr. Burt. Are we able to go back to a different account now that we've voted on it and reopen it to change the number?
You'd have to do a motion to reconsider. It takes 2/3 vote to reopen something you voted on.
Okay, so that'd be 3 of us. Okay, so here's my thoughts. Marge, could you use another 4 grand?
For
For
what?
the human, for the Human Services Assistance Fund?
You could use
Well,
another
you wouldn't put in that, that's
another
solely the bequeath
100,000.
money. You'd have to put it back into the Human Services Fund.
Okay,
This is solely tracking the bequeath money.
I see.
Yeah, once this money's gone, it's gone. We can't add to it.
Oh, okay, then which
No, you-
fund would I need to,
The main Human Services.
just Human Services? Gotcha. But they would be using that money for the same kind of needs.
Yeah, the human services budget primarily funds personnel in the
And
department.
now that I look, I don't really see, they get a lot of grants flowing through, they get other things flowing.
I'll let it go. Any other questions from committee members?
I do expect we'll figure something out that when that money runs out.
Yes, Jen.
Do we have a plan for when the money runs out?
We'll have to come up with
Yeah,
one.
my guess is we'll create a new fund, at a similar level that's funded by the town. As long as that need still exists, which I anticipate that need will always exist.
Okay. Thank you, John.
Okay, all those in favor?
Hi,
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? All right, that passes. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Motion to adjourn,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
sir. All right, we're out at 7:14, which is great. I'm getting a call to go to another meeting.
Thank you. Thanks,
Good morning.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Night.